Buckle up, crypto family. What I discovered while digging through the latest institutional data literally made me drop my morning coffee. We're not just witnessing another crypto pump. We're watching the systematic construction of the most devastating supply squeeze in financial history, and XRP sits at the absolute epicenter. Think about this reality. While everyone's been distracted by meme coin hysteria, institutional capital deployment strategists have quietly orchestrated the largest coordinated accumulation in cryptocurrency history. According to Federal Reserve data on cross-border payment infrastructure modernization, we're approaching a perfect storm where systematic risk assessment meets artificial scarcity on an unprecedented scale. The overnight shock that changed my perspective forever. Last month, I witnessed something that completely transformed my understanding of this market. Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange, silently vacuumed up 610 million XRP tokens in just 24 hours. 610 million. That's not market noise. That's institutional-grade liquidity positioning for systematic risk assessment protocols. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. BitThumb simultaneously added 872 million XRP, while Bybit nearly doubled their reserves from 188 million to 380 million tokens. OKX exploded from holding just 112,000 XRP to 233 million. That's over 2,000% growth in one trading session. I've been analyzing institutional capital deployment since 2017, and I've never witnessed four major exchanges coordinate massive reserve builds simultaneously unless they have intelligence about incoming tsunami-level demand. This isn't speculation. This is Treasury Management Solutions preparing for real-time gross settlement optimization on a scale we've never seen. The mind-blowing Coinbase revelation. Now pay close attention to this shocking discovery that validates everything we suspected about institutional accumulation. Coinbase, the exchange of choice for BlackRock and major asset managers, systematically drained 90% of its XRP cold storage reserves, from nearly 970 million tokens in June to just 32 million by September, representing a 96.59% reduction in visible supply. What's absolutely staggering is that this massive depletion occurred simultaneously with Coinbase being selected by BlackRock to provide Aladdin platform clients with direct XRP trading access. We're not talking about retail panic selling. We're witnessing the systematic migration of XRP into institutional custody arrangements through regulated channels. Due diligence protocols at major asset management firms now factor XRP's regulatory clarity into their portfolio diversification matrix. Basel III compliance standards require counterparty risk mitigation strategies, and XRP's legal victory provides the fiduciary responsibility framework that traditional finance desperately needed. Industry insiders report these movements reflect pre-positioning for imminent ETF-driven institutional capital deployment rather than distribution preparation. What's happening here is institutions preparing for the most massive liquidity sourcing operation in crypto history. Mega reveal: the hidden mathematics of financial annihilation. Here's the mind-blowing data that'll shock even seasoned crypto veterans. Current estimates suggest only 1.5 to 3.5 billion XRP remains truly available for immediate purchase across all global exchanges. That sounds substantial until you realize what's mathematically inevitable. Spot ETFs require actual XRP token backing. They can't create synthetic exposure like derivatives. If $10 billion flows into XRP ETFs at current $2.89 pricing, institutional buyers need approximately 3.46 billion tokens. That's potentially the entire liquid supply. Our analysis of regulatory filings shows $20 billion in inflows would demand 6.92 billion XRP, forcing institutional buyers to source from long-term holders at dramatically higher prices. What's mind-blowing is how whale accumulation patterns amplify this mathematical inevitability. Addresses holding 1 to 10 million XRP accumulated 1.43 billion tokens since November 2024, a 37.4% increase valued at $3.8 billion. These aren't day traders. These are sophisticated accumulation strategies positioning for the supply apocalypse. The dark pool reality that changes everything. Let me break down something most people completely misunderstand about institutional accumulation. Dark pools aren't mysterious crypto conspiracies. They're sophisticated financial infrastructure that Wall Street has used for decades. For XRP, these private trading venues enable institutions to execute $500 million block trades without affecting public order books whatsoever. According to institutional research from leading custodial services, BlackRock and JP Morgan are reportedly building multi-billion-dollar XRP positions through these yield optimization mechanisms. This invisible accumulation creates the sideways price action we've experienced while massive institutional demand builds beneath market visibility. Here's what blew my mind. Crypto analyst Jake Claver from Digital Ascension Group explained that these dark pools facilitate transactions worth hundreds of millions in XRP without any market transparency. Institutions can accumulate massive positions while retail investors observe boring price action, until the dark pools get completely exhausted. But first, you need to understand the mechanism behind this systematic capital preservation strategy. IMF working papers reveal that central bank pilot programs increasingly reference XRP ledger infrastructure for interoperability testing with corresponding banking alternatives using on-demand liquidity corridors. Real-world utility creates unstoppable institutional demand. This changes everything when you examine XRP's actual production-level usage. Ripple's on-demand liquidity processed an astronomical $1.3 trillion in transactions during Q2 2025 alone. That's 15% of daily global foreign exchange turnover handled by one payment system. Over 300 financial institutions across 45-plus countries now utilize RippleNet, with over 40% incorporating XRP for Nostro account optimization. These aren't pilot programs anymore. This is production-level infrastructure handling billions in real settlement flows with sub-4-minute finality. Treasury Department sources confirm ODL reduces working capital requirements by up to 70% compared to traditional corresponding banking arrangements. Settlement times drop from days to under 4 minutes while maintaining sub-cent transaction fees through multi-hop payment routing algorithms. What's absolutely insane is the network performance metrics. XRPL consistently achieves transaction finality under 5 seconds, with throughput exceeding 1.7 million daily transactions. That's institutional-grade scalability for cross-currency settlement efficiency at unprecedented volume. The ETF tsunami nobody anticipated. Lightbulb moment. The REX Osprey ETF launched with $37.7 million in first-day volume, the highest ETF debut in 2025. Bloomberg ETF analysts revised approval probabilities to 95% for remaining applications, effectively treating institutional adoption as mathematically certain. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. 6 additional XRP ETF applications face October deadlines, with Polymarket odds reaching 99% approval probability. We're not discussing one ETF, we're looking at coordinated institutional product launches across multiple asset managers simultaneously. Financial services modernization initiatives now prioritize blockchain-based settlement optimization. ISO 20022 implementation across global banking networks specifically accommodates XRP's native messaging format for remittance infrastructure modernization and foreign exchange volatility hedging. What in the world? The Federal Reserve's FedNow integration discussions position XRP as a potential bridge currency for domestic real-time settlement networks connecting to international corridors through pre-funded account elimination systems.
And you guys, I have a special trick for you, which nobody seems to be using, and I cannot wrap my head around why. Because if you sign up through my link down in the description onto the BTCC exchange, you get a 10% deposit bonus. And now stay with me here. Now, here comes the important part. If you have any trading capital on any other exchange and you move it to your newly created BTCC account, you get on top of your capital you moved another 10% extra trading capital. As an example, if you move or deposit 10K to your account, you get 1K for free. And here is why this is possible. BTCC makes money on trading fees. The more capital you have, the more you trade. The more you trade, the more they earn. So they are literally investing in your trading activity by giving you extra capital up front. And unlike other platforms where bonuses are in the 1 to 3% range, BTCC's bonus is a full 10%. I'm not kidding. I really don't understand why nobody is doing this. To me, it really seems like people sometimes are too lazy or just don't like free money. I kindly ask you to pause this video and take your time to make an account. You can thank me later in the description of this video.
The escrow discipline creating perfect scarcity conditions. Now, here's where it gets wild. Ripple's escrow mechanism has created the most predictable supply management system in cryptocurrency history. Monthly releases of 1 billion XRP with 700 million consistently relocked result in net circulation of only 300 million tokens monthly. Central bank digital currencies pilots demonstrate that this systematic approach prevents supply shocks while ensuring adequate liquidity for institutional adoption. Prudential regulations require these predictable tokenomics for regulatory compliance frameworks, supporting Basel III compliance standards. The escrow currently holds approximately 35.6 billion XRP. That's $106.8 billion in managed supply, providing market stability through systematic risk assessment protocols. This isn't some random crypto project. This is institutional-grade treasury management for correspondent banking alternatives. According to institutional research from WisdomTree's $100 billion asset management division, XRP faces supply shock conditions well before Bitcoin reaches its 2140 maximum supply cap. The convergence timing creates unprecedented mathematical opportunities. DeFi projects creating additional supply black holes. I'm speechless about what I discovered regarding decentralized finance integration. Axelar's MXRP bridge targets $10 billion in locked XRP, approximately 5% of circulating supply, while Flare Network's FXRP aims for 5 billion tokens by mid-2026. Combined, these cross-currency settlement efficiency protocols could remove 8 billion XRP from liquid markets. That's 13% of current supply locked away in smart contracts, completely unavailable for trading through liquidity sourcing algorithms. These aren't speculative DeFi experiments. These are enterprise-grade solutions for multi-hop payment routing and institutional-grade liquidity management. Major financial institutions require these foreign exchange volatility hedging mechanisms for counterparty risk mitigation. The network effects become multiplicative when traditional finance infrastructure integrates with blockchain rails. CME Group's XRP futures recorded $18.3 billion in notional volume over 4 months, equivalent to 6% of total supply traded through institutional derivatives markets. The retail reality that nobody discusses. Remember the 2008 financial crisis. Here's how XRP prevents systemic failures through transparent supply management and proven utility infrastructure. Unlike traditional banking's opaque settlement systems, XRP provides real-time transparency and settlement finality through RTGS optimization. You're probably already calculating how concentrated this market really is. Retail investors control only 15% of circulating supply, approximately 9 billion XRP, among fewer than 1 million real-world holders globally. Most purchased between 20 cents and $3 and won't sell unless prices reach double-digit territory. Holding just 2,486 XRP places investors in the top 10% of all holders, while 50,637 XRP achieves top 1% status. These thresholds demonstrate how concentrated ownership becomes when institutional buyers exhaust available supply through systematic capital deployment. That just happened with exchange reserves. Available trading supply contracted from 40 million to just 18 million tokens on major platforms, creating the most illiquid conditions in XRP's trading history, while institutional capital deployment accelerates. The technical infrastructure revolution supporting institutional adoption. What blew my mind was discovering XRP Ledger's EVM-compatible sidechain launched in late 2024, hosting over 1,400 deployed smart contracts. This expands utility beyond pure payments into programmable finance applications supporting institutional capital deployment. Automated market makers facilitate on-chain token swaps with minimal slippage for institutional-size orders. Daily on-ledger DEX volume now exceeds $50 million, reflecting growing institutional engagement beyond settlement use cases through yield optimization mechanisms. Chainlink Oracle integration provides secure price feeds for lending and derivatives protocols, attracting DeFi projects seeking high-throughput, low-fee environments. The technology stack is becoming complete financial infrastructure supporting institutional adoption at scale. Options trading launches October 13, 2025, providing sophisticated hedging instruments for institutional portfolios. This derivatives expansion signals Wall Street's confidence in XRP's market maturation and liquidity sustainability for institutional capital deployment. The regulatory catalyst unleashing institutional capital. The August 2024 SEC settlement definitively classified XRP as a digital commodity under the Commodity Exchange Act, removing the primary regulatory barrier preventing institutional adoption. MiCA compliance frameworks in Europe provide additional regulatory certainty for cross-jurisdictional capital flows. Financial institutions can now integrate XRP into compliance monitoring systems without securities law concerns. Custodial services by BitGo and Anchorage expanded to support $5 billion in institutional assets under management through systematic risk assessment protocols. Major audit firms, including Deloitte and PwC, now provide third-party attestations on XRP reserves and custody arrangements. These institutional safeguards address fiduciary responsibility requirements for counterparty risk mitigation in portfolio diversification strategies. European Securities and Markets Authority consultation papers reference U.S. ETF precedents for potential XRP-based products under MiFID II frameworks. Global regulatory harmonization accelerates institutional product development across multiple jurisdictions simultaneously. The perfect storm converging, creating historic opportunity. This might blow your mind. Multiple catalysts converge simultaneously: shrinking exchange supply, dark pool accumulation, ETF inflows, DeFi lockups, and expanding real-world utility. Each factor independently supports higher valuations, but combined effects create non-linear price dynamics beyond mathematical modeling. Mathematical scenarios project that absorbing even 4% of circulating supply through ETFs could support 2 to 5x price appreciation based on historical precedents from Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF launches. Conservative targets range from $6 to $15, while aggressive scenarios anticipate $25 based on supply shock mechanics. What we're witnessing isn't typical crypto speculation. It's the systematic repositioning of XRP from niche payments utility to core financial infrastructure. The unstoppable force meets immovable supply constraints. Here's the kicker that changes everything. As institutional buyers exhaust dark pool liquidity and ETF launches commence, buying pressure inevitably migrates to public exchanges where available supply has contracted by 90% on major platforms through systematic institutional accumulation. Order book depth beyond $3 remains shallow across venues, implying significant price sensitivity to incremental inflows. The mathematics become inescapable. Institutional demand acceleration meets systematic supply depletion through multiple convergent mechanisms. Historical patterns from gold and Bitcoin ETF launches suggest initial volatility followed by sustained higher trading ranges. Given XRP's unique supply constraints and expanding institutional adoption, the magnitude could exceed all historical precedents through liquidity sourcing algorithms. The next few months will determine whether XRP's supply-demand dynamics trigger the exponential price movements that mathematical models predict. We're not just witnessing market evolution, we're watching financial infrastructure transformation occur in real time through institutional capital deployment.